Nigel, from your magnificent trophy room, this is just one of your superb collection of trophies commemorating your 30 Grand Prix wins. Now we're going to see them all, but we're going to talk about 11 of them. How have you been able to choose just 11 out of so many?
I think with the greatest of difficulty, but you know, we have to slim them down, and I'll pick what I believe is the top 11 races that we won, and it starts off, needless to say, in 1985 at Brands Hatch, where we won our first race, and that was obviously a very special one.
The win at Brands Hatch was preceded by 4 seasons of Grand Prix racing with Team Lotus, where Nigel's talent had first come to the notice of the late Colin Chapman.
I'm absolutely certain that you're looking at a potential world champion, and I don't think it'll be very long before we'll see Nigel consistently winning races.
Nigel, all your wins were concentrated into the period 1985 to 1992, but you actually started in Grand Prix racing in 1980. Why did it take you so long to win?
I mean, I think that's a very good question. Basically, you have to get yourself in the right place at the right time.
The time seemed to have arrived in 1984. The place, Monaco, in torrential rain. There is the new leader. Nigel Mansell leads on lap 12. This is the first time that Nigel Mansell has ever led a Grand Prix. Driving in his 49th Grand Prix, Nigel was heading for his first victory when fate and the elements took over. Nigel Mansell now very coolly dealing with things. He is no new boy, but it's a new experience for him to know that he's leading a Grand Prix. Cross goes through, his engine is rumbling. He has now lapped. Check that, off goes Nigel Mansell. I spoke too soon. Mansell lost it in the biggest possible way. That was the race leader.
There's white paint on the road, and I put my car maybe 3 inches to the right, a little bit too much going up the hill, and in 5th gear, under power, I just touched one of these white paints, and I immediately got wheel spin, and it just flicked the car sideways into the Armco. Sometimes you don't even have a chance of having the opportunity to even try and think about winning a race, because you're in a team which just isn't competitive. You're basically making the numbers up, and I think that'd be true to say that when Colin Chapman innovated the ground effect car and then came into the 80s, he was innovating double chassis cars, which were obviously banned at a later stage, and the cars were just not competitive then. So it took a number of years to get the right seat to get the job done, and obviously I got that done 2 years after Colin passed away, which was with the Williams team.
Nigel's move to Williams paired him with 1982 world champion Keke Rosberg and revitalised his career. Towards the end of the 1985 season, Mansell was again ready to challenge for that elusive first win.
That first win was in the 14th race of the year, the European Grand Prix at Brands Hatch. Why was it the European and not the British Grand Prix?
I'm not quite sure. I think mainly because there'd already been a British Grand Prix, and there was one race that fell by the wayside, and the backup race for that year was Brands Hatch, so they had to call it the European Grand Prix as opposed to the British Grand Prix. But for me, it was basically another British Grand Prix because it was in my home country.
Did you think by then that you were ever going to win?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just a question of time. You see, as I've always said to you, especially on and off the camera over the years, as long as you're honest with yourself, you really know what the truth of the situation is. And, you know, you have a lot of people saying, oh, give me the right car, they'll win. Well, some will, and a lot of them will never win. I always knew that given the right opportunity, we could do the job. And, you know, I think the nice thing about this conversation now is that at least I can say, well, you know, we did prove a point.
1.5 litre turbocharged engine, and it was not an easy car to drive.
Well, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, 1,300, 1,400 horsepower in qualifying. In race trim, we had about 900 horsepower. I mean, sometimes it was even in excess of 900 horsepower. I mean, no, in one word, I mean, the cars were difficult, but very exciting to drive. I mean, I loved it, that the fact I went through this era with the turbochargers.
Senna's Lotus led away from the start. Nigel attacked going into Paddock Bend before running wide at Druids and falling back to 4th place behind Piquet. A few laps later, luck was on Mansell's side when Rosberg tried to pass Senna for the lead.
And off spins Rosberg, and into him goes Nelson Piquet. On this, the 7th lap, Rosberg trying to take Senna goes off.
Is it fair to say, Nigel, that you actually got a lot of help from Keke Rosberg after he'd had to come in and make a tyre stop and rejoined in front of Ayrton Senna?
Keke, I'd say in general, not just that particular race, but I'd say Keke was one of the best teammates I've ever had in my career.
Well, look at this, a terrific scrap for the lead, and there's a change because the Williams has gone past Ayrton Senna, who has therefore lost the lead, and he has lost it to Nigel Mansell.
Keke is a thoroughbred racer. He doesn't suffer fools easily, and nor do I. You know, he calls a spade, so, I mean, Keke, I've got utmost respect for. I think he's a brilliant driver and probably still is, and that's why we got on so well.
Well, you led from lap 9 to the end. At last you were going to do it for the first time. But your team didn't actually show you your position as you were going by on the last 3 laps at all.
No, I know. I don't know why they were doing that. I mean, perhaps they were worried I'd get too excited and perhaps fall off or something. But, you know, I mean, teams do miscount the race laps occasionally, and sometimes they think they're doing you a favour by doing weird and wonderful things, but it didn't matter to me because I knew exactly where we were.
There must have been enormous pressure on you. Were you thinking, one more lap and I'm going to win my first Grand Prix?
It was more relief rather than pressure. It was relief that, you know, now we've actually achieved it. I mean, you set yourself goals, and those goals sometimes come later rather than sooner, and as long as you don't lose your objective and you lose the sight of what you are trying to achieve, then it will come, but sometimes it does take more time than you think.
Yes, and I'm sure Senna's coming this time. The McLaren crew are ready again with tyres. And looking at Williams are also ready, and it may well be they'll come in together. It looks they are. And so the two leaders coming together, and this is dramatic because their pits are right next to each other, and that makes for difficulties, particularly on the exit. Now, they're in the right order to go in, okay, because Mansell's ahead. But this is a wheel-changing race, and I'm sure Williams will be conservative. And Senna's ready to go, and they're way ahead, and well ahead of the Williams. And Senna, with quite a big advantage, goes out in the lead.
And meantime, and that's Senna spinning. Senna spins and he's nearly collected. Wow! Oh, and he's on the gravel.
And look at this, Nigel Mansell inching up on Gerhard Berger, the leader. Ayrton Senna is back in the points in 6th position, ahead of Lacey, who is 7th.
Is this where the lead is going to change? Yes! Yes! And Mansell and Berger sit it out just as Senna and Mansell sat it out earlier. And this time, Gerhard Berger is the leader.
Yes, the Schumacher is still getting steadily closer, still the quickest man on the circuit at the moment, Michael Schumacher. In 3rd place as Mansell goes to the inside, and wheel-to-wheel stuff, but Mansell got it, and Berger really seemed to hang on to that one for a long time. May have been lost a bit less time if he'd let it go, but Mansell takes the lead, and Schumacher is right with them.
And out goes the checkered flag, and Nigel Mansell wins in Spain. Magnificent!
With Senna trailing home in 5th place, the win, Nigel's 21st, gave the Englishman an outside chance of winning the driver's title. But as in 1987, the Japanese Grand Prix would see the end of another World Championship bid by Mansell. 1992 would be a very different story.
We're back in South Africa then for your 10th choice, Kyle Army. Now, the last time you'd won there in 1985, it was on the old circuit. The new one had been completely revamped. What did you think of it?
I think it was pretty challenging. very demanding, very grueling from the point of view of not having any time to sort of breathe properly, because needless to say, at over 7,000 feet altitude, very hot, you probably had about 2 or 3 seconds per lap where you could actually breathe properly down the straight, and then you're into another corner. But in terms of drivability and does the driver actually like it, I think it's fantastic. The most fantastic corner there is Sunset. Sunset flat out in 6th gear going into forward corner.
At the end of 1991, you had said, after the development we've done this year, we've got the car right, we're going to be very, very hard to beat in 1992. And in South Africa, that first race, you were fastest in all 5 of the practice sessions. You started in pole position and you dominated the race every inch of the way. You were certainly proved right.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I said that my aim was to sort of, no surrender and no prisoners, just go out and get the job done, and that's exactly, I mean, I've been so focused. I've even caught myself when people have been talking to me at times, and sometimes it's been quite important things I've been trying to get across. Although they've been standing there, I haven't been listening because I've just been concentrating on what I'm having to do myself to achieve my goal, which was to become the 1992 World Champion.
That was the first race with active suspension, which you'd worked on so hard. And what were your reactions to that?
Well, I mean, there was a few teething problems, but I mean, ultimately we got the car sorted so well. I was very, very pleased with the winter testing. I think the test that broke the back and showed us the way was the 7-day test we did at Estoril. We stayed on there for some extra days, and I think that test was the most valuable test that Williams have done probably in the last 4 or 5 years.
And it's go, and Mansell's got away extremely well as they go up to the first right-hander. And sure enough, the McLaren has dropped right back and up to the first left-hander. That is turn 4. It's Mansell in the lead. Yeah, and Nigel Mansell's in a very commanding position now because his teammates can, not deliberately, but make it very difficult for Ayrton Senna to get past.
Now we're riding with Nigel Mansell. Mansell leading now by over 8.5 seconds, and really very comfortable indeed for him.
And now Nigel Mansell is on his last lap. You are looking at the potentially victorious Englishman, almost home for the 22nd Grand Prix victory of his career. But far more importantly to him, 10 points in the 1992 World Championship, and the Union Jacks are flying all round this Kyle Army circuit. Having dominated practice, having dominated the race, having put up the fastest lap in South Africa, he won in 1985. This is going to be a glorious back-to-back double, albeit separated by 7 years.
Well, he's done everything right today. No mistakes from Nigel Mansell. A marvellous drive. It's been easy, but he's handled it perfectly professionally. Tremendous win and a great start to 1992.
And Mansell crosses the line, waves to the crowd. In Mexico City, another dominant performance. Nigel took pole position and led every lap of the race. Mansell's got away beautifully. Patrese is in second place, and there's a coming together right in the middle of the grid. That's Capelli going off in the Ferrari from 20th place on the grid, and the other one I think was Karl Wendlinger, the Austrian, in the march. But it is Mansell leading, Patrese second, Senna is up into third place.
And there is Senna pulling off the circuit. We saw nothing wrong with his car just a moment ago. I wonder if he's decided that he's not going to make the distance in the race.
He's into that last swinging series of 10 bends, each of which is faster than the one that he's just left. And when he clears the last one, it'll be the run down the 180-mile-an-hour straight to the Peraltada, out to the Peraltada to see the checkered flag, to see 10 points, and he's now approaching the Peraltada down the last straight, the speed building. This is the Peraltada. Look for the checkered flag. Mansell is certainly doing so. There it is. Nigel Mansell wins in Mexico. Despite a nasty accident in qualifying, Nigel scored a third overwhelming win in Brazil. It's go. Now, who's going to get away first from the Williams? It's a magnificent start by Riccardo Patrese, who leads Nigel Mansell away. Patrese's been practicing his starts and it seems to have been working. Schumacher is in third place. Look at this colossal gaggle as they go through the S's. Riccardo Patrese, Williams Renault, Nigel Mansell in second place. Then it's Ayrton Senna, tight up behind him. It's Jean Alesi. No, it's Schumacher, then it's Alesi, then it's Martin Brundle, then it's Pierluigi Martini.
And Mansell had a big go down the inside of Patrese there.
The two Williams now are already in a race of their own. As Ayrton Senna coming into the pits. Now, is this an early tyre stop? It is not. Ayrton Senna is retiring from his own Brazilian Grand Prix.
Patrese led until the tyre stops, after which Mansell took charge to complete a second career hat-trick.
And Mansell rejoins the race after an 8.54 stop. Patrese will be next. Riccardo Patrese sprints out of the pits and Nigel Mansell leads the Brazilian Grand Prix. And there he is. That's how close it was. Just half a second between them and the pit stop. As the Williams team look for their team leader, and that he is. Nigel Mansell crosses the line now to win the Brazilian Grand Prix.
In the rain at Barcelona, Nigel encountered strong opposition from the Benetton of young German ace Michael Schumacher. Jean Alesi found grip at the start and made a phenomenal getaway. First Patrese and then Senna retired. As Mansell pulled away into the lead, the challenge was taken up by Schumacher, who managed to reduce Nigel's lead from 21 seconds to just 5 late in the race, before the Williams driver sprinted away to reopen a gap of 16 seconds in just 5 laps. At the finish, Nigel was 24 seconds ahead as he won for the 4th time in a row. At Imola, Nigel made Formula One history when he became the first driver ever to win the opening 5 races of the season.
They've all got away well at the front. Mansell leads, Patrese is second, Senna coming up alongside the Italian as they go round the Tamburello, and it's still Mansell leading. Patrese second, Senna third, Schumacher fourth, Berger fifth, Martin Brundle is in 6th position.
And already the Williams is storming away. And that really is a most impressive first lap from Mansell and Patrese.
Mansell into the pits. Now, I wonder how long Nigel Mansell will take for his pit stop compared with that of Riccardo Patrese. He's got plenty of time to just take it nice and easy. Remember what happened in Portugal when last year Nigel Mansell lost the race because of a faulty tyre stop. That's a long stop, 9 seconds. But Riccardo Patrese is coming through to complete the lap, and the gap between them now is 4.5 seconds. They're both on fresh rubber, and Mansell crosses the line for Williams Renault to win the San Marino Grand Prix very convincingly indeed.
Following the disappointments in Monaco and Canada, the French Grand Prix saw Nigel re-establish himself as the pacemaker in Formula One.
And out sprints Michael Schumacher, and Patrese noses ahead of Nigel Mansell. Now Patrese, who took pole position last year, has got a real flyer. Patrese leads. This is the exact opposite of Canada. Patrese, Mansell, then the 2 McLarens, the 2 Benettons, the 2 Ferraris. As they come up to the Adelaide hairpin, and there's a contact there. Who is it? It's Schumacher. And who is he hit? It's one of them. It's Senna. And now they're dodging their way round. Are they going to stop the race?
In part 1 of a rain-affected race, Riccardo Patrese didn't make it easy for his teammates.
Mansell is really going for it. Trying on the outside this time. But Patrese doesn't give way there alongside. Surely Mansell will take the lead here. They're coming up to the Nürburgring here, the right and the left. And Mansell is in the passing position. But Patrese forces him back. Well, this is a terrific scrap between two equally determined teammates in two perfectly matched Williams Renaults. So the French Grand Prix is stopped on lap 20 out of 72.
After the restart, Nigel took control.
Again, Mansell attacks, and again he's through. Nigel Mansell leads, and now he's streaking away.
The rain returned in the closing laps, but Nigel swept to his 6th win in 8 races.
If there is one race in all the races that you have dominated in your career, it's the British Grand Prix. It was your 4th win in 1992. It was at Silverstone. It was your 5th in Britain, and you were on pole by 2 seconds. How can you be that much ahead of everybody else?
People power.
What do you mean by
People
that?
power. Well, I'd rather keep that to myself because, I mean, unless you ever get into that position, no one can ever dream what that means. The supporters, the fans, the people that come to Silverstone, they know what that means, and that's all that matters to me. We can dig, and even Sterling Marshall, some other great drivers have said, at Silverstone, I'm unbeatable. I can delve into the depths of whatever they think I can delve into. And all I would say to them is they're not wrong. I mean, I think I've demonstrated with the 5 wins I've had in England, and certainly the last 3 that I've had at Silverstone, you know, we can dominate there, and it is just a fantastic place. It's in my home country. The fans are just, well, they are second to none. They are marvellous. And of course, my last choice, the 11th choice, has got to be the British Grand Prix of 1992.
The British Grand Prix of 1992 is go, and Mansell straight on the power. Patrese alongside him. The Italian has again out-dragged Nigel Mansell. He leads into Copse, and Martin Brundle has passed Schumacher, and then the two McLarens, and Martin Brundle has made an absolute flyer, as has Patrese. And Patrese, the Italian in the Williams Renault, is now in 2nd position because Nigel Mansell has exerted his authority and has surged past Patrese, who is now being attacked by Martin Brundle. As we ride with Nigel Mansell, you see his helmet just on the left-hand side. That is Beckett's corner. Now into those 4.5G corners, the right, left, at Beckett's itself, round Chapel Curve, doing about 150 miles an hour down the fastest part of the course. Well, equal fastest. He's doing 190 miles an hour here as he goes into Stowe Corner. Nigel Mansell leading by 39 seconds, completing his 29th lap in this 59-lap race. He more or less coasts in. Now, I say again, with a lead like he's got, what they need to make sure is those wheel nuts are done up tight because he's had problems with them in the past. Nigel Mansell emerges still in the lead with after an 11.7 seconds stop, and he will go through before Riccardo Patrese passes the start and finish line. And Senna stops. Ayrton Senna is retiring from yet another Grand Prix. The Union Jacks are waving, and Nigel Mansell wins the 1992 British Grand Prix in terrific style. Hands off the wheel, and you can see how happy Nigel Mansell is.
An excessive wheel spin allowed Patrese to lead at the first corner.
Riccardo Patrese has got another flyer and leads into the first corner.
But Mansell was through into the lead by the end of the opening lap. Nigel's tyre stop on lap 14 dropped him behind Patrese and Senna. A fraught moment at the Oscurve chicane saw Mansell doing a bit of rallycross as he fought his way past Senna and into 2nd place on lap 19. When Patrese had a tyre stop, Nigel was back in his customary 1st place.
Coming into the last corner of the last lap, Nigel Mansell wins in Germany, and he equals Ayrton Senna's record.
Nigel's 8th win of 1992 put the Drivers' Championship almost beyond doubt. At the Hungarian Grand Prix, 2nd place was enough to clinch the World Drivers' Championship. Nigel Mansell had finally fulfilled his dream.
Mansell kicks it sideways. Gets away well. Senna trying to get up on the right, but Berger is already up into third position ahead of his teammate. It's Mansell leading, Patrese second, Senna taking third place from Gerhard Berger and challenging Patrese. Now, where is Mansell? Here he is into the pits. Now, remember what happened to Riccardo Patrese? The Williams team made a mess of it. They will be very conscious of this. They will be conscious, or should be, of the fact that they really can take their time. It was that right rear last year that caused the problem. They'll be on tenterhooks this time. Well, that was nothing to write home about, but 9.45 seconds has at least got Nigel Mansell back into the race on four wheels. Mansell wins the Portuguese Grand Prix and a record 9th win in one season.
At the finish, Mansell was 39 seconds ahead of Berger, who had earlier been involved in a frightening incident with Patrese. Nigel's victory at Estoril set a new record for wins in a single season and made him the third most successful Grand Prix driver in history, with 30 wins.
You've broken so many records in 1992, Nigel. The most races by a British driver, the most wins by a British driver. How much does that matter to you?
Well, it's a tremendous, but I mean, as Jackie Stewart said when he set his record, he didn't really appreciate it would stand for as many years as it has. I just hope that if I'm fortunate that my record stands for as many years as he had his, then I'll be very grateful. But, you know, standards and records are set to be beaten, and I feel sure in one day there'll be another driver come along and beat my records.
Precious few people are recognised by their nation, and even fewer sportsmen. You have been recognised by being awarded the OBE, the Order of the British Empire. A very, very proud achievement.
Very, very proud. Very, very precious.
We don't know about this sort of thing. Tell us just a little about what happens when you receive the award.
Well, it's so precious, I'd rather not. I think also from the fact of having the award, I was privileged enough to have lunch with the Queen for a few hours one day on the one-to-one with sort of 4 or 5 other people present, and it was just phenomenal. And I think it just makes you so proud, not only to be British and English, but to have achieved a level in your own sport where, you know, you are bestowed this fantastic honour.
Well, now, sadly, as far as we're concerned, it's Nigel Mansell to IndyCar racing in 1993. How do you look back on your long career in Formula One from 1980 to 1992?
With some fantastic fun memories, with a lot of pain. Obviously sitting here, 2 broken backs later, a broken neck later, broken wrist and smashed toes and various other ailments which I won't go into. I mean, we've been through it. But I feel that we've come out on top. We've succeeded, our lifetime's ambition. There's many, many drivers and people that go into their selected sports and don't achieve the ultimate. I, at least in 1992, can say that we achieved the ultimate in pulling off the World Championship. So I think leave the sport with tremendous satisfaction, tremendous pride with the achievements and records that you've just mentioned that we've actually achieved, with 5 Grand Prix wins straight off at the beginning of the year, never achieved in the history of the sport. You know, 30 wins now to date or whatever, and it's pretty nice. And of course the maximum points win in any year in the history of the sport also. That is very comforting.
Well, all your fans, thousands and thousands and thousands of them all over the world, look back on your career with admiration and affection. And we look forward to your new career and wish you many, many more wins.
And just in finishing, I'd like to dedicate my Formula One career to a few special people. I mean, ultimately to my wife, Roseanne, because without her support from the very, very beginning, I couldn't even be sitting here today speaking to you. But also all the believers out there, and there's a lot of them, but there's, you know, some few very special people which I won't mention, but they know who I'm talking about. And then also there's some, the extraordinary hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people out there that I dedicate my whole Formula One career to you, the fans. Enjoy this. Thank you very, very much for the support and incredible happiness you brought me. And I think I can share with you, as you can share with me, the happiness at the British Grand Prix, which perhaps people in the Formula One pit lane don't understand the affection we have. Thank you.